Brown bears, the essence of wild Alaska. Top of the food chain and with power to match, they face few enemies, except one challenger, hunger, their constant companion. It seems incredible that such imposing animals should struggle to find enough food. But for bears, it's a race against time to make the most of the riches offered by the short Alaskan summer. I'm Chris Morgan, and I've been fascinated by their survival instinct for many years. What do bears really need to live?
They're quite good. They'd go well in a salad.
It takes much more than brawn. It takes a brain to thrive in the wild.
Well, it's only that size, super delicate work.
And there's no place like Alaska's Katmai coast to find out how bears meet the hunger challenge. This is a wild and unforgiving landscape. Rough weather, high mountains, rugged coastline. It's my favorite place to get up close and personal with grizzlies. Everything they need is right here. As a bear biologist and conservationist, I've been studying grizzlies for much of my life. And every time I come here, they surprise me with new insights.
The reason I fell for bears was that they are just fascinating to understand and watch. Their behaviour is like no other animal. And it's not just because they're smart and special and adaptable and successful, complicated, but it's because they represent the wild like no other animal does, I don't think.
Brown bears have always been the undisputed masters of this part of the world. On the Katmai coast, they're protected, and it's the best place to see what their life is all about. Here they may even come close to you, but you always need to treat the bears with respect and stick to strict rules to stay safe.
It's hard to tell because they're a couple 100 meters away, but I think we've got two lovebirds down here. There's a young female, blonde female on the left with a big male, and they're about 15 meters apart and just looking into each other's eyes. And it's almost as if he's like, hey, how you doing? How about now? And she's looking back going, no, sorry. It's like, okay, how about now? It's all about waiting for the right moment at this time of year for the females and for the males. And it's not quite time. She's not quite ready. It's the waiting game for this guy. But he's not giving up.
Bear courtship can be a long, tricky, and exhausting affair. When they emerge from their hibernation in spring, this is one of the first things on their mind. But more than that, they need to top up their fat reserves in the short Alaskan summer. I always wonder how they manage to cope. What's their secret?
It's a pretty crazy thought, These bears spend their winters 6 months asleep, not eating, not urinating, not defecating, in the mountains, in these high mountains that you can see that are still covered in snow. And what must go through their mind, popping out of those dens in the spring, ravenously hungry, ready to get on with life, wondering what that year is going to entail.
Most of all, bears have to fight their greatest enemy, hunger. It's hard to believe a mighty animal like a grizzly should struggle to find enough to eat. But when they emerge in spring after half a year's hibernation, nourishing food is hard to come by in the mountains. Some are lucky enough to find a dead carcass, preserved by the winter cold. But most have to make do with a meager diet of spring herbs and roots. It's barely enough to get by. Starvation is never far away. It's just the opposite for herbivores like the caribou, roaming the land on ancient migration trails. When bushes and trees start to sprout the first spring green, life couldn't be better. But not for brown bears. Picking at herbs and roots is all very well, but what they're really looking for is meat. Moose calves are a favorite. Most are born at the end of May, just when the bears are at their hungriest. They're tough to find in the undergrowth, and the bears only have a few days to take advantage of the defenseless calves. Just 1 week on, the young moose are fast enough to outrun them. Despite the challenge, in some places, almost half the newborn moose calves fall prey to bears. For a mom and her cub, the kill is a crucial energy boost. But it doesn't last long. Hunger is quick to return. The rugged Katmai coast has more on offer for hungry grizzly bears than the sparse mountains further inland. Extensive sedge meadows flourish in protected bays. They attract bears in large numbers. Biologically speaking, brown bears are carnivores. But here they almost resemble grazing bison. What's so good about this grass-like sedge? For a bear, this is an incredibly special place. This sedge meadow, and I can see it here, it's all been grazed. It looks like a lawnmower has actually been through here, and it's all been grazed down by bears. And they come out of their dens lean and hungry, and this is one of the first places that they come to. Every year, a habitual habit, every season they'll come here to feed on these sedges. And I'm not sure what all the fuss is about, but I'm going to give it a try. These things are packed full of protein. It's hard to believe that they offer anything to something as large as a bear. But it actually tastes pretty good. Did go well in a salad. Packed full of protein, and so they offer these bears something really important at this time of year. Bears need an enormous amount of food to sustain their massive bodies. Ideally between 15 and 20,000 calories for an adult 300-kilogram bear every day. Fresh sedge sprouts contain up to 25% raw protein, a real boost. But the bears have to graze almost non-stop to make it worth their while. It just about keeps hunger at bay until richer and more easily digestible foods become available later in the summer. After all, their predator jaws and teeth are not really built for grazing. And in contrast to herbivores like moose or cows, they can't digest cellulose easily. Most of it passes straight through them.
A big pile of fresh bear scat. This is really important stuff, and also one of my favorite subjects, because it's very important on this sedge meadow. When you think about it, these bears are actually sustaining this ecosystem, helping to sustain it themselves by defecating and urinating nitrogen all over this meadow. They're actually fertilizing the fields that they need this time next year when they come out of hibernation. What a great system.
Brown bears can't really thrive on sedges alone, but their abundance in lean times is a lifesaver. But it comes at a price. With so many other bears around, brown bear mothers are in a constant state of alert, with good reason. This can be a seriously dangerous place. So life for mothers with small cubs is filled with anxiety.
When you think about it, these bears want a stress-free life, so it doesn't make sense to come down into a place that's full of bears. The only time it makes sense is if there is enough food for them, and if there is an important type of food for them, and right here it's the sedges. Otherwise, who would face a hassle like this? Males everywhere, females and males courting. It's a dangerous place for a female with her cubs, and it shows just how important these sedge meadows are.
This mother has 3 yearling cubs in tow. They're quite a handful. But when the meadows get crowded, danger is never far away. Brown bears are loners and highly opportunistic when it comes to food. Occasionally, they may even opt for their own kind. This brute is exactly what I mean. An old bear in poor shape will seize any chance to better his odds. It's best to stay well clear of a bear like this. This face spells trouble. The mother pops her jaws, signaling danger. The family moves as one compact unit. Her aim is to keep a safe distance between him and her kids. But keeping 3 cubs under constant surveillance is anything but easy. A fact not lost on the old brute. He follows, watching, biding his time. The next morning reveals a tragedy. The old brute has killed one of the cubs. Ironically, the grizzly meal might not only help him to survive, it could prove a blessing in disguise even for the mother. One less mouth to feed may improve her remaining cubs' chances of survival. Cub mortality is notoriously high. In some years, fewer than half of all bear cubs make it through. This is where the mountains have a distinct advantage over the crowded sedge meadows: solitude and shelter. Mothers with newborns often decide to stick around for longer. For them, security outweighs all other considerations. The cubs are not yet fast and strong enough to cope with the busy life on the coast. Up here in the mountains, the family can relax and search for food without the constant threat of other bears nearby. Like all bear mothers, she's a single mom, looking after the kids for the next 2 or 3 years on her own. She'll teach them all they need to know about being a bear. In early spring, she still has some fat reserves from the previous year to draw on. But topping them up soon is imperative if she is to see her family through the summer. As an experienced mum, she knows where to find the best of the sparse mountain vegetation. Spring greens and nourishing roots are life-saving transitional foods. But it takes skill and practice to know where to find them. Roots are nutritious, but not all make good eating. Her cubs have a lot to learn before they're fit enough to make it on their own. But with an experienced mother to teach them, they have the best chances. Eventually, she too will have to leave the security of the mountains. The lowlands and the coast have much more to offer than the harsh mountain slopes. And because plenty of grizzlies gather here, this is the best place for me to watch them. Always with the greatest care and respect, of course. It's unusual to see so many bears in one place where they all have to socialize and get along, in spite of their loner instincts. There's nowhere else like it to learn about bear society. Having to meet, greet, and socialize doesn't come naturally to them. Bear etiquette is a complex affair and depends on individual situations and personalities. Facing up to each other can be a provocation. While turning your back is a friendly or confident gesture. To cope with the complicated interactions in this neighborhood, bear noses are incredibly important. They're far better than those of dogs.
Sometimes I wonder what it would be like having the nose of a bear for 24 hours. You'd look pretty strange to start with, but I think it would be an absolute sensory overload if you could sense what these bears are picking up. Here it's pretty simple, but in our world it would be completely overwhelming, the world of the human. But here it's basically where the next meal is coming from, where there is a potential mate, and where there is a potential threat. Those three things are the things that are top of every bear's mind, and that nose really helps with them. So you'll see them maneuvering around a meadow in order to get in the best position for the wind direction. So they can, oh yeah, there's Maureen, yep, there's Joe. Oh, there's somebody I don't know, got to be careful of that guy. There's a new lady on the scene over there. All of these things that are going through the mind of a bear as they graze through this meadow. It looks like there's not much going on, but there really is. They're thinking all the time about these opportunities and threats.
All sorts of scent trails waft across the meadows, laced with information. Particularly during the mating season, males leave scented messages to make their presence known. Especially to females. They also rub their scent on trees and bushes to impress and warn off rivals. For a bear nose, the world is shaped by scent. It's super sensitive and helps them navigate the meadows to avoid aggressive encounters. Overall, there's plenty of space on the sedge meadows to keep your distance and graze peacefully. But mothers with cubs are always nervous around others. They tend to stick close to the safety of the forest. The mother of the yearlings and other families stay well clear of the busiest spots in the center. Young bears are different. In their early years of independence, they may actively seek company. Young males in particular like to take center stage to show off and play fight. The commotion is too much for the yearling mom and her cubs. She retreats to a quiet spot in the woods. These youngsters could be brothers who shared a winter den just a couple of years ago. Their rough play is not without risk. Teeth and claws can always draw blood in the heat of the moment. It's essential training for adult life when sparring contests turn into serious fights for dominance. Aside from the odd bit of fun, food remains top of the agenda at this time of the year. The bears are constantly on the move in search of the best feeding spots. I'm following their trails to find out where and how far they go.
Hey, bear. This is a pretty thick, older forest, and you've got to remember that bears don't like surprises, so you've got to make as much noise as possible. Just let them know that you're coming. Hey, bear. Hey, bear. Whoa!
Bears usually avoid encounters of all sorts, including human ones. Most attacks happen when you unexpectedly run into a bear. It's definitely not a good idea to be sneaking around. Bear trails look just like hiking trails and can easily be mistaken for one. I've been following bear trails for a long time, and I always take care to stay safe. That includes knowing where not to go and how to move in bear country.
A great example of a bear trail here. And generation after generation of bears has established this trail to get around, and here they come to an intersection and they have to decide, do I want to go to the sedge meadow or do I want to go to the beach? I'm going to go to the beach.
Along the beach, the Katmai coast offers another hidden food source. Young bears out on their own for the first time now have to put their mother's lessons to good use. And that includes digging for clams on the mudflats at low tide. I'm heading out for a clamming contest.
This is pretty cool. There's a young female here, and she's got this series of holes behind her. She's right at the low tide line, and she's digging for clams. This is something that's pretty common to the bears around this part of the coast, and especially young bears like her. And if she can come down here at a low tide like this, where the big males don't bother her because it's not worth their while, this digging, it's big time worth it for her.
They're only small, but the clams are far more nutritious than any spring greens.
42 digs, 42 clams, and that's the equivalent of probably spending at least half a day on the sedge meadows back there in terms of the calories that she's able to take in. So she's doing the right thing here.
Knowing where to dig takes practice and skill to extract the prize from the shells.
I think she's got the best spot over there. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. These smaller clams are only just a few centimeters down under the surface usually.
It's soon pretty clear I'm no expert at this.
She's holding it down with one paw and literally taking the other claws and prizing the lid off and sucking the meat out. Incredible. It's only that size, you know, super delicate work. See that? We're close enough to hear her slurping the meat out of the shell.
My fruitless efforts don't impress the young bear one bit. She's clearly not bothered by my presence, but she keeps a close eye on me.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, I'm not leaving empty-handed after all.
Digging around in the mud has definitely been worth it for the young bear. Now, as the tide returns, it's time to head back to the solid ground. Summer is short on the Katmai coast, but it makes up for it with extra long days and plenty of sunlight for plants and animals to thrive. In July, fireweed glows with vibrant flowers. Everywhere, flora and fauna is in full growth. Back on the sedge meadows, things are heating up. Females are the focus of attention. Adult males are intent on making their presence known. Their weird gait is called a cowboy walk, designed to intimidate and impress. The air is thick with tension. Serious fights are on the agenda. Their aim? To win the chance to father the next generation. At a time like this, I'm always extra careful to keep a safe distance.
Tough life for these big males. You know, they really have to work hard to maintain their position in this hierarchy, because that's exactly what it is. You know, you've got your top bears right down to the underlings, and the very top bears don't usually have to fight in order to get mating rights. But those that are just somewhere close to the top are constantly sparring and trying to find out where they are in this hierarchy, from top bear to lowest on the totem pole. Got to be tough, you know. These giant males come out of their dens lean and hungry. You know, over 6 months of sleeping over the winter, they might lose a third, sometimes a half of their body weight. So they've got to pack those pounds back on. But at the same time, the females are receptive to breeding right now, just for a few weeks at this time of year. It's a tough decision to make. Is it love or food? On a daily basis, they've got to go through that and hopefully strike the right balance.
The sedge meadows double up as a courting ground, where you can find food and a mate. It's the female's decision whether or not to accept a male's advances. By now, the mother of the spring cubs is also on her way from the mountains to indulge in the coast's riches. Her cubs have grown strong enough to make the journey. It's stressful for her down here. Too many bears, too much tension. All her senses tell her this is not a safe place for her tiny cubs. Perhaps she can find a safer spot somewhere else along the coast. The bears are still desperate for more than grasses and a few clams. Eventually, a little later in the summer, the coast offers its star attraction. Many rivers will soon be full of fish. Ravenous bears are now constantly on the move to lay claim to the best fishing spots. I'm doing my best to keep up with them.
There are these really well-worn bear trails everywhere. So I'm literally walking in the footsteps of bears. It's almost like bear history is engraved in the landscape.
Countless generations of bears have traveled these trails. This yearling mum has known these paths since she was a cub. Now she's passing the knowledge on to her own kids. For us, the unpredictable wind and weather on the Katmai coast make just getting here a tough proposition, let alone at the right time.
This is a real hotspot for bears. And in fact, it's one of the most important places in the bears' calendar. And here it is all about salmon.
Salmon is the key to bear survival here. Every summer, millions of fish arrive from the Pacific Ocean. Their aim? To swim upstream and breed, back where they came from years ago. Seals follow the schools, hoping for a quick snack. But catching agile fish isn't nearly as easy as it looks. Female salmon are now loaded with eggs, and the males stay close for the chance to fertilize them. They're in a hurry to get to their spawning grounds upriver. A perilous journey. The yearling mum has already taught her cubs how to behave on the sedge meadows and how to find clams. But teaching them when and how to catch salmon is one of the most important lessons of becoming a bear. This is her classroom. As soon as she spots her prey, the mother gives chase. Her cubs quickly follow suit. Young bears have to learn fast. This might be the last year their mother will teach them. Begging from mum remains a favorite game. It's what all young kids do, and it pays off. By now, there's so much fish to choose from that the bears only bother with the best bits. Yearling mum's favourite is the fatty skin. It's packed with much-needed calories for a nursing mother. But her cubs are keen to explore. Catching the fish seems to be even more fun than eating them. Plenty of opportunists make short work of the scraps. Gulls are quick to clean up. But there's a hierarchy even among the freeloaders. The bald eagle rules the roost here. His powerful beak delicately extracts the fish eggs and other tasty bits like the liver. His only rivals? Other eagles, or his own young. Yearling mum may have gorged on 15,000 calories in a single sitting, but even a bear's stomach has its limits. Time for a rest in the safety of a daybed, hidden away in the backcountry.
The forest is also a really wonderful place for the bears to come and take a rest. So you'll come across day beds in a place like this, surrounded by scat, where they'll spend 3 or 4 hours digesting their food after spending time on the beach or in the sedge meadows. And it's a really peaceful spot. There's trails all around me and beds scattered through here.
Knowledge and skill are crucial on the bear's unending quest to find ever more food. On the vast tidal flats, the bear's secret weapons, their sensitive noses, can help them track down welcome treasures. A bear can sniff out a rotting carcass many miles away and will head for it in a straight line. This female is the first to arrive at a feast. She's found a dead seal. For a bear, this is a delicious meal loaded with fat. Just what a bear needs to stock up on in the summer. But holding on to the prize is a different matter. A big male has also followed the enticing odor of flesh. He can see there is competition. Positioning himself upwind means he can sniff out who's already at the food treasure. And in the face of a much stronger bear, the female doesn't even try to defend her find. It's just not worth the risk. Size matters in bear society. Now he's bumped the female off the buffet table. It's his turn to gorge himself on the fatty food. She can only wait and watch until he's eaten his fill. Which might take a while considering the effort it takes to tear apart a dead seal. The Katmai coast has one of the largest tidal ranges in the world. At low tide, extensive areas fall dry. Tidal inlets channel the outgoing water. Some bears prowl the water. But there isn't much to find. The salmon he's looking for are mostly waiting way out in the deep. Still, the tidal inlets carry enough water for some fish to hide in. Maybe it's worth a try. He knows they're there. But salmon are hard to catch, especially when there's enough water to make a getaway. For most bears, low tide is a time to rest or find food inland.
The bears gather here in massive numbers and it's all about the fish. I'm a little bit early. The restaurant clearly isn't open today yet. But when that tide comes in, it'll bring the fish with it. And then the bears will start to gather, and that's the reason they're here.
The next high tide brings another wave of salmon into the river. And the yearling mom leads her cubs to the next lesson in her watery classroom. But this time, it's not only about how to catch fish. They are not alone. During the salmon run, the rivers are like popular food courts for the bear neighborhood. And everyone who lives within walking distance joins the party. They've all learned from their mothers when the salmon are on the move. The yearling mum sniffs out the situation. Is it safe enough with those two gatekeepers taking up position at the river mouth? With her favorite spot occupied, and two little ones in tow, she hesitates. She knows the two females, but they could be just as dangerous to her cubs as a big male. The gatekeepers settle down to wait, while the fish are still out at sea. the yearling mum decides to make her move. She looks nervous, but calls her cubs to the river. She has to keep feeding. No running around this time. And no nursing either. When other bears are nearby, mothers are in constant conflict between food and safety. She desperately needs the fatty salmon's calories if she is to get her cubs through the tough winter and spring ahead. This is her best chance of stockpiling enough reserves. But tension laces the air. Even her playful cubs are edgy and stay close together. More bears arrive. The yearling mum keeps calm. This female seems to pose no threat, as long as she keeps to her own spot. Finally, the fish arrive. Everybody starts to give chase. Tempers flare, and in the heat of the moment, disputes are inevitable. Any good fishing spot is now in contention. As loners, bears are not prepared to share. For the yearling mum, this place has become too dangerous. With her cubs in tow, she can't afford to get involved in aggressive clashes. The bears are all hungry and prepared to fight for their share of the feast. With the posturing over, everyone can turn their attention back to the cause of the furore, the salmon. Now all that counts is the fish, and everyone has their own technique. Bear eating habits are highly individual. This one likes to use his paw as a dinner plate. She's likely to catch more than 20 salmon today and devour their best parts. That way she can gain up to 2 kilos of weight in a single day. One of the gatekeepers prefers to skin her fish first. The other goes for the head, skillfully extracting the nutritious brain. There are many fish, they can afford to be choosy now. With everyone's attention on the fish, the yearling mum has led her cubs back to her favourite fishing spot at the river mouth. But she risks running foul of the gatekeepers down here. Finally, success! This time the family eats the whole fish. With those 2 gatekeepers nearby, it's not the right time to be picky. Best for the cubs to run away with the scraps, while Mum puts the gatekeepers in their place. For bears, this is just another day at the salmon run.
You can't stand in a place like this and walk on the bear trails and watch the bears fishing and gathering in this special creek without just thinking about how timeless it is for them. They've been coming here for thousands and thousands of years, and as the rest of the world ticks on and moves on and evolves in different ways, the bears are always going to be here doing their thing as they have been doing for thousands of years. And that's a really remarkable thought.
In summer, the rich pickings supplied by the sea transform the Katmai coast into a bear paradise. And as long as there are salmon, there will be bears.